A seemingly routine flight took an unexpected turn when a stewardess made a life-changing decision, one that would change her life forever. She deliberately poured spaghetti in a passenger's lap without knowing who he really was. What happened next? Stay until the end to discover this fascinating story of prejudice, consequences, and redemption. In the meantime, tell us where you're watching from. The terminal at Los Angeles International Airport was crowded with hurried travelers, announcements blaring over the loudspeakers, and suitcases rolling down the aisles amidst the hustle and bustle. Michael Corleone, CEO of Altitude Airways, walked calmly towards Gate 17. Michael was no ordinary executive. He had started his career as a ground handler, dealing with suitcases and schedules. After years of hard work, he had risen to lead the airline, but he never forgot his roots. So he decided to fly incognito on a first-class flight without privileges or special treatment to observe how the boarding service worked. Michael adjusted his tie and handed his boarding pass to the gate agent for Flight 452 to Chicago. He hoped to have an experience that would allow him to gauge the quality of service. But what he found was far more revealing than he expected. The first-class cabin was a sanctuary of luxury, reclining leather seats, subdued lighting, and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Michael took a seat in row 3, seat A, and began to observe. In front of him, Vivian Ward, the chief cabin attendant, attended to the passengers with impeccable precision. However, it wasn't long before Michael noticed something peculiar. Although Vivian was all smiles and courtesies toward travelers who appeared wealthy or influential, her treatment of others was markedly different. When she reached Michael's row, Vivian did not hide her disinterest. "Something to drink?" she asked with a tone devoid of warmth. "Water, please," replied Michael. Without another word, Vivian set the glass down with a sharp motion before turning to offer champagne to a couple behind him. Flashing a beaming smile, she proceeded down the aisle. Michael watched her, his calm but inquisitive expression, wondering if this was a simple oversight or a sign of something deeper. As the flight progressed, her treatment of him became colder and more obvious. She overlooked his seat during the snack service, deliberately ignoring him while she carefully attended to the rest of the passengers. Finally, Michael decided to press the call button to test her professionalism. A long while later, Vivian arrived with her arms crossed and a look of exasperation. "What do you need?" she asked curtly. "A snack," Michael replied. The answer was quick and curt, and before he could respond, she had already left. But it wasn't long before Michael saw her handing out snacks to the passengers up ahead. Although the situation was frustrating, he decided not to react. In his mind, a direct confrontation wasn't the solution. He wanted to understand how far this behavior would go when she thought no one important was watching. When the dinner service began, Vivian's attitude continued to be a spectacle of contrasts. She served the other passengers with courtesy, delivering perfectly presented dishes with warmth. But when she reached Michael's row, all her enthusiasm disappeared. "What would you like for dinner?" she asked without even looking at him. "Spaghetti, please," Michael said calmly. Vivian paused for a second, as if his request made her personally uncomfortable. "It's only to be expected," she murmured loud enough for him to hear. Michael remained silent, but his eyes scanned her as she made her way to the service area. Her demeanor reflected irritation, her jerky movements causing utensils to clatter noisily as she prepared the dish. Vivian's every action seemed laden with contempt and frustration. What happened next would mark a turning point on that flight. She returned moments later, balancing the tray with one hand while holding a hot pot of coffee in the other. Her movements were leisurely, almost ceremonial, savoring every second. But to Michael, something about the scene seemed out of place. There was something in Vivian's gaze that unsettled him. Vivian approached him with a sharp, calculated smile, and her voice dripped with false friendliness as she said, "Here's your spaghetti, sir." Before Michael could react, she tilted the tray, and the plate of steaming spaghetti fell directly onto his lap. The hot sauce spilled all over his linen jacket and pants, causing him to recoil from the heat. A murmur went through the first-class cabin. The passengers gawked at the scene in disbelief. Instead of apologizing, Vivian simply said dryly, "What carelessness. Perhaps I should be more careful." The entire cabin fell silent, and the passengers exchanged looks of astonishment. Some leaned forward to see how Michael would respond. He didn't respond immediately. His face remained unperturbed, but his eyes were fixed on Vivian with an intensity that made it clear he wasn't finished. As he took a napkin and meticulously wiped the sauce from his clothes, murmurs grew among the nearby passengers. However, he remained silent, controlling the anger boiling inside him. He took out his phone and sent a message to his assistant, arranging an urgent meeting with Altitude Airways, management, and all Flight 726 personnel as soon as they landed. Vivian walked back with a triumphant air without even offering a napkin, completely unaware of the magnitude of what she had just done. For Michael, this was not just a personal incident. It was a matter of principle. It was an opportunity to set a standard that would resonate throughout the company. When the flight landed in Los Angeles, Michael arrived at Altitude Airways headquarters with impeccable poise. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, and his calm but authoritative demeanor filled the meeting room, where the board and crew were already waiting for him. Vivian, however, entered visibly annoyed at having been called to the meeting. The doors opened and Michael walked to the head of the table with an icy calmness. He began, "I think you know why we are here. Let me introduce myself properly. I am Michael Corleone, CEO of Altitude Airways." The room went completely silent. Vivian froze in place, her face losing all color as murmurs ceased. Michael recounted with precision every moment of the incident, the hostility, the intentional act of humiliation, and the lack of remorse. "In this company, we do not tolerate behavior that compromises our integrity or our treatment of customers," Michael said. "Vivian, with immediate effect, you are fired." Vivian tried to protest, but Michael did not give in. His decision was firm, and the message was clear to everyone in the room. Addressing the rest of those present, he added, "As of today, we will implement mandatory training in customer service. Respect and responsibility will be the pillars of our corporate culture, with no exceptions." Months later, Altitude Airways was recognized as a leader in customer service excellence, a change driven by Michael's determination to address the situation from the outset. During a conference on leadership, he shared the experience. "Leadership is not measured by titles or privileges, but by the ability to do the right thing, even when no one is watching." It is important for each of us to reflect on our experiences and how we can contribute to a more just world. If you've ever experienced discrimination or witnessed unfair treatment, your story may inspire others to stand up to injustice. Share your experience in the comments and remember to subscribe for more stories that motivate us to make changes. Together, we can create an environment of respect and understanding for everyone.
Para todos.